Muhammad, the Prophet of Islam, is seen by non-believers as its founder, but by almost all Muslims as its last prophet sent by God to mankind to restore Islam, which they believe to be the unaltered original monotheistic faith of Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and other prophets. He had united Arabia into a single Muslim polity and ensured that his teachings, practices, and the Quran, which Muslims believe was revealed to him by God, formed the basis of Islamic religious belief. Born approximately in 570 CE in the Arabian city of Mecca, Muhammad was orphaned at an early age. He was raised under the care of his paternal uncle, Abu Talib. After his childhood, Muhammad primarily worked as a merchant. Occasionally, he would retreat to a cave named Hira in the mountains for several nights of seclusion and prayer. Later, at age 40, he reported being visited by Gabriel in the cave and received his first revelation from God. 3 years after this event, Muhammad started preaching these revelations publicly, proclaiming that God is one, that complete surrender to him is the only way acceptable to God, and that he was a prophet and messenger of God. Similar to the other prophets in Islam, Muhammad gained few early followers, and met hostility from some Meccan tribes. To escape persecution, Muhammad sent some followers to Abyssinia before he and his followers migrated from Mecca to Medina in the year 622. This event, the Hijra, marks the beginning of the Islamic calendar, also known as the Hijri calendar. In Medina, Muhammad united the tribes under the Constitution of Medina. In December 629, after 8 years of intermittent conflict with Meccan tribes, Muhammad gathered an army of 10,000 Muslim converts and marched on the city of Mecca. The attack went largely uncontested and Muhammad seized the city with little bloodshed. He destroyed 360 pagan idols at the Kaaba. In 632, a few months after returning from the farewell pilgrimage, Muhammad fell ill and died. Before his death, most of the Arabian Peninsula had converted to Islam. The revelations, which Muhammad reported receiving until his death, form the verses of the Quran, regarded by Muslims as the Word of God, and around which the religion is based. Besides the Quran, Muhammad's teachings and practices, found in the Hadith and Sirah literature, are also upheld by Muslims and used as sources of Islamic law. Names and appellations in the Quran. The name Muhammad means praiseworthy, and appears 4 times in the Quran. The Quran addresses Muhammad in the second person by various appellations: prophet, messenger, servant of God, announcer, Quran 2-119, witness, Quran 33-45, bearer of good tidings, warner, Quran 11-2, reminder, Quran 88-21, one who calls unto God, Quran 12-108, light personified, Quran 5-15, and the light-giving lamp, Quran 33-46. Muhammad is sometimes addressed by designations deriving from his state at the time of the address. Thus he is referred to as the enwrapped in Quran 73-1 and the shrouded in Quran 74-1. In Surah Al-Ahzab 33-40, God singles out Muhammad as the seal of the prophets, or the last of the prophets. The Quran also refers to Muhammad as Ahmad, more praiseworthy. Pre-Islamic Arabia. The Arabian Peninsula was largely arid and volcanic, making agriculture difficult except near oases or springs. The landscape was dotted with towns and cities, 2 of the most prominent being Mecca and Medina. Medina was a large flourishing agricultural settlement, while Mecca was an important financial center for many surrounding tribes. Communal life was essential for survival in the desert conditions, supporting indigenous tribes against the harsh environment and lifestyle. Tribal grouping was encouraged, with unity being based on blood relations. Indigenous Arabs were either nomadic or sedentary, the former constantly traveling from one place to another seeking water and pasture for their flocks, while the latter settled and focused on trade and agriculture. Nomadic survival also depended on raiding caravans or oases. Nomads did not view this as a crime. Byzantine and Sasanian empires dominated the pre-Islamic Middle East region. The Roman-Persian wars between the two had devastated the region, making the empires unpopular amongst local tribes. Politically, Arabia at the time was divided between two tribal confederations, the Banu Qais, loosely allied with Byzantium and who were originally powerful in northern and western Arabia, and the Banu Kalb, who had originally come from Yemen, and were loosely allied with Sassanid Persia. In pre-Islamic Arabia, gods or goddesses were viewed as protectors of individual tribes, their spirits being associated with sacred trees, stones, springs and wells. As well as being the site of an annual pilgrimage, the Kaaba shrine in Mecca housed 360 idols of tribal patron deities. 3 goddesses were associated with Allah as his daughters: Alat, Manat and Al-Uzza. Monotheistic communities existed in Arabia, including Christians and Jews. Hanifs, native pre-Islamic Arabs who professed a rigid monotheism, are also sometimes listed alongside Jews and Christians in pre-Islamic Arabia, although their historicity is disputed among scholars. According to Muslim tradition, Muhammad himself was a Hanif and one of the descendants of Ishmael, son of Abraham.